My Line? Brought to you by Geritol, the high-potency vitamin iron-rich tonic in liquid or tablets to help you feel stronger. And now, let's all play What's My Line? From New York, let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
Thank you. And now that alluring comedian who is starring in a new picture called Island of Love, and a very nice place for him to be, Mr. Tony Randall.
Your shot gets it in. It is my pleasure to introduce that remarkable twister and columnist whose work appears in over 430 newspapers, Dorothy Kilgallen.
I'm happy to introduce the head of Random House, the delightful Bennett Cerf.
Why, it's nice to have Arlene back with us again.
Thank you.
Well, you know, today is Father's Day, and we happen to have a panel moderator who goes farther and farther every week. And here he is, old Pop Daly, John Charles himself.
Well, I must say, this is a great evening for What's My Line. Everything's back to normal with Arlene sitting on the panel again. And I would say for Bennett, this being Father's Day, remember last week we noted he was going up to Harvard to his son's graduation. Well, he has reason to be a very proud father because his son not only graduated from Harvard, he graduated cum laude. And congratulations to son and to pop. Miss Arlene, I have a very selfish reason for being happy, among others, that you're here. I was out at the Isaac Walton League convention in Cincinnati. And the first question they asked me every time I stood up on was, how is Arlene? Now they know Arlene is getting better because she's here with us, and it's a great night. And I'm happy to tell all of you, Tony, that we have a very interesting program for you tonight. So brace yourselves.
You say it diabolically, John.
I do indeed. We have some very interesting occupations for you to discover. We will also have our famous mystery guest before my friends on the panel a little bit later in the program. And we'll meet our first challenger. And now to meet our first contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Richard Ihetu. Is that right, sir? Mr. Ihetu, where are you from?
From Aba, Nigeria.
From Aba in Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Well, I think this is the first time that we've had a guest from Nigeria, and may I say it's a pleasure to have you with us on What's My Line. May I present our panel, Mr. Ihetu? And then join me over here. I must ask you, coming all the way from Nigeria, if you're familiar with our scorekeeping system, are you?
I think so.
In that event, we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Mr. Ihetu is self-employed and deals in a service, and I think we'll put you to work right away, Arlene Francis.
Mr. Ihetu, are you performing this service in America?
Yes.
I would say, if I may there, with your permission, that the service can be performed in America and is sometimes, but not to the exclusion of any other area.
I see. Is it a service that you perform out of doors?
Could be.
Or you could be indoors? Do you communicate with people in your profession?
You mean, is this communication basic and necessary to the
Yes.
consummation of the service which is being delivered? Is that right? That's one down and 9 to
Yes,
go,
that's what I
Mr.
think.
Randall.
I'd like to do something I shouldn't do and try a hunch. Mr. Ehetu, although you're fairly well robed, you appear to have a remarkably well-developed physique. Is athletics in any way concerned with your service?
Yes.
Good boy.
Are you, employed in a sport in which, 2 or less are involved at one time?
Yes.
I think you're a boxer.
Yes.
I think that's very good.
You know how I knew?
Oh,
The development of the neck muscles.
really?
Yes.
But
Just
you...
a lucky...
You know, actually, I'm going to throw these all over because we don't have Mr. Ehetu with us all the way from Nigeria every
Yes,
week.
yes.
But you're really talking to the middleweight champion of the world.
Oh.
Actually, Mr. Ehetu fights as Dick Tiger.
Oh, my.
Now it all becomes clear, and took the title from Gene Foma in San Francisco
Oh,
in
yeah.
1962.
That was October last year.
Yeah, and then you fought again to a draw in February of this year, and now Mr. Ehetu, or Dick Tiger, I think we probably will call you from here on in, Dick Tiger and Gene Foma are going to fight again, and going to fight in Ibadan in Nigeria, and it'll be the first championship fight, needless to say, for Nigeria, which is a new country, and this is fine. It's something you should be very glad about.
When is this fight going to be, Mr. Tiger?
October, sorry, that will be 13th of next month.
13th of July.
Are we all invited over?
Are we all invited over?
That would be good.
Now, I don't want to risk you. I don't want to embarrass you, but I think you also ought to know, besides being middleweight champion of the world, that when Her Majesty, the Queen of Great Britain, Ireland, and possessions across the seas, issued the honors list, which I think was only last week, Mr. Ehetu was made a member of the British Empire.
Congratulations.
On the official honors list. Well, Dick, I must say, and I hope you'll understand this, because I know that if a Nigerian were involved, you'd feel the same way. I will say, I know that it's going to be a good fight, and we certainly hope that you and Gene have another good go at it, and may the best man win.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you with us. Nice to see you. Now let's meet our second contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Melvin Stern. Right, sir? And where are you from, Mr. Stern?
New York City.
From New York City. Fine, then all these folks will be familiar to you. May I present our panel, Mr. Stern? Now, will you join me over here? You know how we keep score. Good. We'll let the audience at home and the audience in the theater know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, we can tell you that Mr. Stern is salaried and deals in a product, and we'll begin the general questioning with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Mr. Stern, is this a product that I might be familiar with?
Yes, it is.
Might I own one of these things?
You may.
Could a man own it too, reasonably?
You mean directly have ownership in a personal way, Dorothy?
Would he ever go into a store or anywhere and buy it?
He could go into a store and buy it, yes. That would be fair, don't you think?
Yes,
Would it be more likely for his wife to use it?
yes, it would.
Could I hold it in my hand?
Yes.
If I had one of these things, would I put it away when company came?
I would say that if you had one of these things and were of an inclination to put it to use, that you would not, if company were going to come, put it away. That would be no. 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. Stern.
You would put it away?
I wouldn't. You have pretty good neck muscles, too, Mr. Stern. Mr. Stern, is this product used to improve any part of the house in which it is put to use?
I don't think so.
No. 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Francis.
Mr. Stern, would children be interested in your product?
You mean for their personal use?
Well, now that you put it that way, no, more is something to give the folks for Christmas.
Well, I don't think we could agree they'd give it to the folks for Christmas. So that's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Randall.
Is this something that the lady of the house consumes or wears?
Yes, it is.
When she wears it, is it visible?
Yes.
Is it visible above the waist?
Yes, it is.
Is it visible above the shoulders?
Yes.
Is it worn someplace on her head?
Yes, it is.
Is it worn on her face or hair?
Yes, it is.
Is it the face?
No, I think in the context of all the previous questions that have been asked, you have to get a no for that. That's 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Well, is it something that is worn in the area of her hair?
Yes, it is.
Is it worn over her hair?
Yes.
Is it made of hair?
No.
No. That's 5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. Stern, would this product then possibly be found in a millinery shop?
Yes.
Is it some kind of hat or covering of the head?
I think we could agree it's that, yes.
But it is not an ordinary hat that would be worn under normal circumstances by a lady strolling down Fifth Avenue. Is that correct?
No. Yes, it is not, no.
Is this hat worn for a special occasion?
Yes.
Is it a hat that's worn at some ceremony?
Yes.
Would it be a marriage ceremony? Do you
Yes,
have something
it
to do
would.
with bridal veils or...
You're absolutely right. Mr. Stern has something to do with bridal veils. Now, what does he have to do with bridal veils?
Oh, goodness, I thought I had it.
You've got it. But
I should say he makes them.
he makes them. That's very good. That's 6 down and 4 to go, Miss Francis.
He designs them?
That's 7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Randall.
Well, he must sell them.
Very good, Mr. Randall. I don't know whether either Arlene or Dorothy would be familiar. It's the marionette?
Marionette bridal.
Bridal veils. And I learned something tonight. I found out by the few notes that we had that they run anywhere from, what is it, $50 to $200?
That's right. That's right.
Well,
What's the sell-in, trade-in value?
I suppose this is one thing that we can be absolutely certain sure no woman would ever want to trade in under any circumstances whatsoever.
No, they don't.
But we had a lot of fun with bridal veils tonight, and thank you very much for being our guest. We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, here is a word from our sponsor. And now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery challenger, for which, as you all know, the panel is blindfolded. Are those blindfolds all in place, panel?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. Will you enter mystery challenger and sign in, please? All right. Panel, as you know, in the case of our mystery challenger, one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise. And we will begin with Bennett, sir.
Has your picture been in the New York papers in the course of the past week?
I would think here, Bennett, we would say that it's possible.
Couldn't the mystery guest answer him or herself? So
Well, I think the reason I answered it is that, frankly, we have to qualify the answer, you see. But it's possible that it has been. We wouldn't want to certify it, absolutely. I've been out of town all week myself. Arlene?
Is your more or less permanent address on the West Coast rather than the East Coast?
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
Mm-mm.
That's
Yes?
no. That's no. That's 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Randall.
Sir or madam, are you a performer?
Mm-hmm.
Miss Kilgallen?
John, I may have to disqualify myself, but I'm not sure yet because I can't tell whether it's a man or a woman. Are you a woman?
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll disqualify myself.
Mr. Cerf?
Are you a singer?
Mm-mm.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Francis.
Are you acting in the New York Theater? Mm-hmm.
Mr. Randall?
Excuse me, I didn't get the answer to are you a singer. Was it yes or no?
No.
With all that resonance, you're not a singer?
Not yet.
Are you a serious actress rather than a musical comedy or a comedian?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Mr. Cerf?
Oh, you really disqualified
Yes, I
yourself,
did.
Dorothy? Are you in a play that requires the services of very few people?
Mm-mm.
No. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Francis.
Are you in a play that is being done in, or rather, are you in 2 one-act plays?
Mm-mm.
No.
Yes,
That's
no.
4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Randall.
Are you in one of the longest evenings ever put on in the theater?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Cerf?
Is the play that you're in a play by Eugene O'Neill?
Yeah.
Arlene?
Can't even think what Eugene O'Neill's. How about that? My concussion is catching up with me. I'm going to pass to Tony.
Well, how strange that the interlude should come my way.
Oh.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Geraldine Page?
Right.
Actually, Miss Page is starring, and I think it's fair and perhaps understatement to say brilliantly in Eugene O'Neill's Strange Interlude
Oh,
in New
she's
York.
just wonderful.
She's remarkable.
John, I hated not to play the game. It would have been such fun. But we had a strange makeup man, not a strange one, but we had a new makeup man tonight. Ours is on vacation. I was the first one in the dressing room, and I said, who's our guest panelist? And he said, Geraldine Page. Ooh, I wasn't supposed to tell you that. So I wasn't sure he was right.
Well, thank you very much for disqualifying yourself, Dorothy.
Miss Page, can I give you a piece of interesting publishing history?
Oh, do.
Most plays, when they're published in book form, sell only from 2,000 to 5,000 copies. Strange Interlude, when it was published many years ago, when Eugene O'Neill was in his prime, sold 150,000 copies. It was #1 on the bestseller list, the only time a play has ever achieved that prominence in the history of the publishing business.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, now that we're in it, we know why that happened.
Well, we know that it's a long play, which I suppose it's important, but we also know that it's an exacting part, and it's very good of you to give us part of your Sunday night. Thanks very much for being our guest.
To be here.
Nice to see you. Yes, Tony?
I may have misled people when I said one of the longest evenings in the theater. That may have sounded derogatory. It's not intended so. The play does not seem long when you're sitting there. It ends all too soon.
Aye, this is true. But it is, in terms of the theater, a very long
It's about
play.
6 hours long.
6
and there's
hours.
a dinner break.
Yeah,
It's almost as long as Cleopatra.
Well, I must say, panel, you've done very well so far tonight, and we'll have another contestant after this word from our alternate sponsor. And now to meet another contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please?
Mary? Ketro.
Is that right? Is it Miss or Mrs.? Miss Tatro? And where are you from? New York City. Tatro, please. From New York City? Oh, well, fine. These folks are all neighbors of yours, then. May I present our panel? Now, would you join me over here, please? Do you know how we keep score, Miss Tatro? Yes. All right. In that event, we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Miss Tatro is salaried, deals in a service, and we'll begin the questioning with Tony Randall.
Is this a service that both men and women could enjoy?
Yes.
Is it equally available to both sexes?
Yes.
Is it a service for which you require special training?
Yes.
So that you're not misled, this is not meant to imply that you need sort of graduate schoolwork, but it does need training to be able to function efficiently.
We said salaried in the service. Did we establish whether you work for a profit-making organization?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Do the people who receive your services come to you?
Yes.
Do you touch them?
Sometimes.
Do you speak to them?
Yes.
Do they feel better for having received your ministrations?
I would certainly say that the service which is tendered here would tend to make the receiver or the recipient feel better, yes, particularly if there was a degree of need for the service.
Mm. Is there an area of performing within your service?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Would people ever come to you in an emergency?
Yes.
And you would do something that they needed in an emergency? Is it for human beings?
Yes.
Here again, to clarify, with your permission, somebody might come in conditions which would be described in purely subjective terms as emergency conditions.
They wouldn't have to be cut and bleeding or anything like that.
That's right. But also, Miss Tatro would, as a part, perhaps, of an overall piece of activity, apply her service to the emergency.
Now I'm completely confused. But you do what you do on people, not animals or things. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. So if there was an emergency, could it be a mental or emotional emergency rather than a physical one under some circumstances?
No.
No, not in those descriptive terms. The emergency would tend to cover a very broad area. Mr. Cerf?
Miss Tatro, when you are performing your services, do you wear any kind of uniform?
Yes.
Would it be a uniform that would be easily recognizable?
I think
By the
we would
ordinarily
agree,
intelligent
Bennett,
person.
that it's a uniform that would suggest the occupation, and if you had had any reason to use the service frequently, it would identify itself.
Might the
yes.
uniform be white?
No.
No?
3 down and 7 to go, Miss Francis.
Is it a cover uniform that covers you so that you don't get any marks on your clothing and so forth?
No.
Is it protective? It's not protective.
No.
No. 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Randall.
Would you call your service necessary as opposed to
I'm sorry, Tony, we've run out of time. I don't know whether you'd have gotten this, because this is pretty tricky. Miss Tatro is a stewardess, but a helicopter stewardess. She works for New York Airways. In the helicopter service that goes from Wall Street to Idlewild to Newark, you know that, and so we have something new, a helicopter stewardess, and thank you very much for being our guest. It's nice to have had you with us.
That would have been right. That wouldn't have got me anywhere.
Again, it's a joy to have had the happy night of Arlene's return and Tony to have you with us. Good night, Arlene, friend.
Thank you, John. Good night. Good night, Tony.
good night?
Good night, Tony. Good night, Bennett.
Meet you in that helicopter tomorrow, John.
Okay, Bennett. It's a good idea. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us on What's My Line?
What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson